Mona Dias, a fellow parishioner of St. Mary's, Dandenong, and I warmly welcome you to the fourth and final interview with the leaders of our parish, Kathy Gottliebson, Father Emmanuel Di Chiocco, Reverend George Peckmet, and Father Brendan Lane. Talk of saving the best for last. My guest today needs no introduction. He's the very popular, much-loved parish priest of St. Mary's, the one, the only, Father Brendan Lane. A very hearty welcome to you, Father.
Thank you very much.
Father Brendan has been with St. Mary's since September 2017, when he took over from his predecessor, Father Declan O'Brien. Tell me, Father, was it a smooth transition? Did it all go to plan at the time? Or did the Australian and the Irishman butt heads at some point?
Well, listen, before I answer that, I think I have to correct something that Father Emmanuel said. He said that I was the worst cook here. And I don't think that's slander.
We haven't still aired that interview, so that's not happening for another week.
Yeah, well, that's all right. But there's a slander there on the tape, and I thought you could have followed up with another supplementary question there. How did he know that I'm the worst cook here? I could have asked him, have you ever had a meal prepared by Father Brendan?
Have you put Father Brendan to the test?
Yes, absolutely. And he just said that I'm the worst cook. Now, the thing is, I have a special ministry, and that's eating. My ministry is eating, not cooking, and I don't cook. So how can he know that I am the worst cook?
That's probably why he made the assumption, because you don't cook, that you probably are not.
Well, I look at what he's cooking sometime, and the odours that are coming out of those pots, you know, I offer to put in my dirty socks to improve the flavour a little bit, but he won't let me. But anyway, he eats at a different time. When I eat, I don't eat the food that he eats. It's very African. But when he came, of course, he brought a lot of dried dead fish, and the smell was so strong we had to ask him to put it into the shed, into the garage here. And there was a possum living there. The possum left home because of the smell.
The smell was too bad, too much for the poor possum.
That's right. So I thought I'd just correct that before we start. Yeah.
Yes, but so getting back to my question, did the Australian and the Irishman butt heads at any point, or did the transition go very smoothly?
Well, I only saw him once. I came here once, and there was a handover. So we didn't have any time together, really. Okay. Yeah.
So you avoided butting heads, okay.
Yeah.
But did you know Father Declan beforehand?
I've met him before, yes. But I didn't know him well, you know. Okay. We had been seminarians here, and so we had some contact with him, yeah.
Okay. I have 20 questions for you as well. And I'm sure the responses will be very, very interesting. So if you are ready, we can get started.
Okay, well, let's go.
Parishioners know you as Father Brendan Lane. Do you have a middle name?
Yes, James.
Brendan James Lane. Mm-hmm. Thanks. Have you ever had a nickname?
Oh, well, I've been called all sorts of things, but nothing has stuck on me for some reason. No nickname has stuck.
So just Brendan?
Yeah. When I lived in Africa, one brother there called me Dingo for some reason. Dingo.
Probably because you were from Australia.
So much?
Probably because you were from Australia, they just associated.
Yeah, just one might have been the one thing he knew about Australia. But anyway, no, I haven't had any nicknames that have stuck.
Because Australians are normally very well known to have.
Well, I had red hair and they called me Bluey, but no, that didn't even stick. Okay. No, I don't think their nicknames haven't stuck.
Okay.
Yeah.
Were you born in Australia?
I was.
Which state and suburb?
In Ivanhoe, yeah.
Also in Victoria?
In Melbourne, yeah.
And you've lived in Victoria all your life?
Oh, no, not all. No, I lived in Sydney and lived in Africa, yeah. So I've been out of here a bit, yeah.
How long in Africa?
I had 3.5 years over there, yeah, in Zambia, in the north of Zambia, yeah.
Okay.
Oh.
Do you have siblings?
I do.
How many?
Yes, there were 6 of us. One of my sisters has died, but we were 3 boys and 3 girls, yeah. Mm.
And where do you fit into the family?
I'm the second.
The second.
Yeah, I've got an older sister, yeah.
Do you think you can provide us with a brief summary of your childhood?
Oh, gee, that was a long time ago. I just was pretty normal childhood, I think, you know. We had a great big backyard and we had chooks and ducks and animals and birds and...
in Ivanhoe?
In Ivanhoe, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and went to the primary school there. I chose my parents well, or they chose me, or God chose them for me. I don't know, whichever it was. But yeah, they were good parents for us. And I suppose I grew up with a cross section of society in my own house, really, because they're all so different. And we didn't have television. My parents never got TV, so I suppose we talked a lot more than you would today, and
yeah, sadly that's the case.
We had to get on together a bit, you know. So I think it was good training to be a priest because you've got to get on with all sorts of people. So I had to get on with these difficult people in my own home, you know. So that was interesting, I suppose, and it was good. And I love sport. I played a lot of sport, and that loved Australian rules and tennis, and I had to work hard in my studies because I wasn't the brightest. You know, I've been with the brightest people, and I'm not up there with the brightest. But so I had to work hard to achieve anything really. And then I went to university, did a science degree and majoring in chemistry. That's why I think I could cook, because it's the same as chemistry. You just put a couple of things in the one container
back to the cooking question
and heat them up again, and then you hope they get together. A bit like marriage, I think. Yeah. So. Yeah, so I did that, and then I taught as a teacher in the country up in the Wimmera, and then I went to the seminary in Sydney, yeah, which was so I only did a short course. It was a seminary for late vacation, so it was much shorter than they do now. Yeah, but we only did it in 4 years. Yeah.
Okay.
Mm.
I particularly liked the time when you spoke of the chalice that your father molded himself when you became a priest. In one of your homilies not that long ago, you talked about that. You showed the chalice.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
That your father had molded for you.
Yeah, my father was an electrician, and he could do, like most tradesmen, they can do any trade.
Yeah.
So he did a short course on how to make chalices, and he made this chalice which we're using now at the moment. And yeah, it's probably a symbol of me that he's helped to mold me,
you
some sort
into
of
what you are today.
Yeah.
I thought that was a beautiful story that you related. Yes.
Mm.
What's your favorite childhood memory?
Oh, I don't know. We used to go down the beach every holidays, you know. I loved going to the beach, and just around, not far from here actually, around Blairgowrie. My grandmother had a house there, and we all go down there with all my cousins. on one side I've got about 25 cousins, so we'd all meet down there and get to know each other. And
that's a big number.
Not all at once, but over the holidays we get together and get to know them and enjoy our time. I love the beach now.
You did what children did.
But I can't sunbake with my skin, so while in the sun you have to avoid it as well. So
just slap on all the sunblock you can. Where did you have your education? Where did you have your education?
At Ivanhoe, the Mary Immaculate School and the primary school, and St Patrick's College in East Melbourne, which has now been closed. The Archdiocese closed that. That was a very good school, and gave us all an opportunity, to good education. Jesuits taught us there. So, that was good. And we did lots of things, a lot more than they do now. We did amazing things, really. Opportunities we had, yeah.
It's all very different. It's all changed big time. Do you speak another language besides English?
Oh, well, I learned French at school and Latin. But my brother was a very fine French teacher, but I could read it well, but I could never speak it. I don't have a good ear. And Latin, I did very well in Latin, but that got me into science in uni, because of good results in Latin. But again, I've forgotten a little of that. But, I've got some idea when I see Latin words, and they're the basis of so much of English as well. But I learned a bit of, in Africa, a tribal language, the Bemba tribe. I learned a lot of greetings and things of their language, yeah.
That's good. Do you have any hobbies?
I'm very interested in football, I think, and follow that pretty closely. But I don't have any hobbies with manually or that sort of thing. No, I haven't gone down that path, really. Of interests, I think, more than anything.
That's all right. Not many people have hobbies. It's perfectly fine. Do you consider yourself witty and humorous?
Look, I don't think other people would, but I enjoy my humour. I see the funny side of things, I think. But my father always told me it would get me into trouble, and I do. I go over the edge a lot. When you grow up in a family, you get knocked around a bit, and you get knocked in, and so you say, I tease a bit, and these days you've got to be careful because it's,
political correctness,
all those sort of things. Yeah, so you've got to pick your mark very carefully, and but I don't take myself seriously. I take my work seriously, my life seriously, but not to myself.
See, I think a lot of people looking at you, they wouldn't see that that sense of humor or that wit in you, because on the outside you come across as a fairly serious person. But I think over the months we've got to know you better, and I certainly can see that wry sense of humor in you.
Oh, thank you for that observation.
That definitely is the case. With Father Declan, it was different. He was that extrovert kind of person. You could see him wherever he was just bubbly, and he had a joke that always came with anything. I think that's his Irish side. But with you, initially that was the perception I think I had personally, that Father Brendan's very serious. But now that, over the months I've got to know you better, I say now, Father Brendan has a very wicked sense of humor, and you don't always see it. It comes out at the most unexpected times.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. Well, it's a bit...
How would you rate yourself? On a scale of 1 to 10, how would you rate yourself?
What else?
As, being witty and humorous.
Oh, I don't. That's for other people to do. I'm not going to rate myself.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Can I rate you then? I'll give you a 10 out of 10.
Oh, gee, that's very kind of you. But
No, I'm being honest. I would give you a 10 out of 10 for that. Yes. Who is the most intelligent person you have met in your life?
Most exciting.
Most intelligent person, if you have ever met anyone. Intelligent.
Yeah. There's a priest in Melbourne. Do you want to mention his name? Because it's probably not fair, but there's just not long ordained, but absolutely brilliant. Absolutely brilliant, really. And I just was amazed how God has raised up a leadership for his church. I got to know all these fellows in the seminary, and amazing intelligence, really. And they would have said that at the uni where they go to, the best student they've had. So, yeah.
Is it someone we have known or met in this church? Probably.
No, you haven't. No. I don't want to mention his name. He might go to his head,
And we don't want that, do we?
No.
Did you hold any job or jobs before becoming a priest?
Yeah, I was a chemistry, maths, science teacher here and in Africa, in country, yeah.
So your stint in Africa was before you became a priest?
No, after, but I used to teach any subject, give me a book for a night and I'd go and teach it the next day. If the teacher got pregnant and leaving or whatever, they'd give me the class. But I was teaching religion, of course, but I filled in other subjects as well,
So
I enjoyed that.
Multi-skilled person, very multi-skilled, multi-talented.
I'd have a go. I just have a go. Yeah, I'll have a go at anything, really.
But you need to have that confidence, so obviously you do have that.
Oh, I got a confidence, yeah. Well, you know yourself after a while, don't you? You know what you can do and what you can't do. But, yeah. But you're talking, they're not university, they're secondary, so it's not the highest level.
True. Yet. Don't underestimate what you have done, Father. It's brilliant work. How old were you when you realized priesthood is your vocation?
Well, that was the last thing I wanted to do, was to be a priest. I'm like Isaiah and Jeremiah and all these, reluctant. I was very reluctant to even listen to anything about that or think about that. But I ran out of excuses, I think, when I got into my 20s. Probably about 23 or 24 before I realised that's what I'm meant to be.
And you had finished your university studies by that time. Do you have a favourite saint?
I love the saints, actually. I haven't thought about that. Who'd be my favourite saint? There's a lot of saints.
Exactly. In the Catholic Church, almost every day we celebrate the feast of a particular saint.
Well, it's Teresa Lisieux today.
Yeah.
And she gives hope to all of us, the little way, the simple way of life. St. Joseph was great, I think, and St. Francis of Assisi. There's so many wonderful saints, really. There's something to like about all of them, really. I've met two saints. I've already met two saints personally. Yeah. Mother Teresa, I've met Mother Teresa and a couple of times. Even heard a confession, so that I know in every saint there's a sinner and every sinner there's a saint. But and John Paul II, I've met him as well. And Paul VI, I hadn't thought about that. I met Paul VI as well. So...
Where did you meet Mother Teresa? Was it in India?
No, she came here to Fitzroy. And I've been sort of chaplain to the Missionaries of Charity here, and she wanted to meet me and check me out to see if I was suitable for their sisters. And I met her also in Calcutta, and had a little meeting with her there. Yeah.
Oh, that's marvelous.
Yeah.
How exciting would that have been? And then I'm guessing John Paul would have been in the Vatican.
No, he came to Melbourne in 1986.
Oh, so you went in at that time.
So I shook his hand there, yeah. Paul VI I was in the seminary. He came to Sydney, and I wanted to meet him. And I worked out. It took us 3 days. He was there for a week to work out how to meet him.
You had to plan your strategy.
We went to St Mary's Cathedral and found the way that he's coming, but he'd always go to the sick. So we found a priest in a wheelchair and got behind him as his attendants, and the Pope comes over to him, and at the same time we shook his hand too. So, that's...
So if there is a will, there is a way.
Yeah, there is, yeah.
Do you have a favourite scripture passage?
Yeah, I think one of the big realisations when I was studying scripture in the seminary is we don't have to earn God's love. With God on our side, who can be against us? Nothing can come between us and the love of Christ made visible in Christ, and that passage has been a great favourite of mine.
I love that sentence. If God's on our side, who can be against us?
Yeah. Nothing can separate us. You see, that was a big help to me in a realisation, I think, that the truth of that.
Do you have a favourite hymn?
I haven't seen these questions before, so I haven't thought about them. Holy God, we praise thy name. I like
Adoration
that.
I love that. That's a favourite of mine too.
Yeah, that's a translation of one of the famous passages by St Thomas Aquinas.
Yes.
Yeah.
And now we learnt that hymn in school, and we had to sing that most mornings at SM. Beautiful.
Yeah.
Okay. What is your biggest complaint about being a priest?
Well, I'm happy to be a priest. I'm happy in my life.
So you have no complaints?
Oh, look, you have your good days.
Apart from having to cook.
You have your good days and your bad days, and you have in a day you have good times and bad times. But I'm meant to be a priest. I'm happy to be a priest. I've had 10 moves. I've moved all around. Doesn't matter where you put me now. I'll just do what I do. But every day is an opportunity. But not every moment of every day is good. We had that terrible shock yesterday of the death of Peter King. Now, Peter's been coming here, recovering alcoholic. He always wore the coloured green vest, and he just died on the road yesterday, Well, he's become a good friend, So you have your moments where you sadness like that, but it's
just tells you how unpredictable life can be.
It does indeed, yeah.
In recent months, how have you spent time in lockdown?
Well, I've got the lockdown expert here. Father Emmanuel was a lockdown expert. He's been locked down for 3 years since I've been here.
So he's giving you handy hints, is he?
he's studying all the time. There he is over there. But I just look at him and he seems to survive being locked down. Look, you've got to look after your mental health. And if I can see any depression or anything like that coming, I try and get rid of that and do something, get moving. And you've basically got to accept it, though you don't agree with it, and you try and make the best of it. The thing that kept me going is funerals. There's all these funerals I've had, and some COVID funerals. But there's a lot of work in a funeral, a lot of preparation, and so that's occupied a lot of my time trying to celebrate, meaningful funeral for people. And we're lucky we've been able to keep a lot of things going as normal, as far as possible. But I don't like it. Don't like the restrictions, especially the sick and the elderly that we're not allowed. I went down to a nursing home a couple of days ago, and they wouldn't let me in. And I know there's people there that I should be going to. They're totally locked down. So that's distressing, really. But, I suppose I read a bit more and watch a bit more TV than I would normally. In some ways, it's good. There's less effort, less pressure, and more time for some things. Yeah, so that's good.
Would you say you've had more funerals during this time of lockdown than usual?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's been a run on funerals, especially in those early days of the lockdown. People dying, in the nursing homes, not from COVID, but from people who the Mass was important. We could no longer say Mass for them in the nursing home, and no longer they couldn't have visitors. Those, they're hanging on to life anyway.
It's so loneliness
they just gave up. Yeah, people who needn't have died, but they decided it's time to go. Yeah,
they just give up. Or they gave up on life.
Yeah, they gave up, yeah.
Now I'm getting a bit political here. Do you prefer communion on the hand or tongue?
I leave that up to people, whatever they... I take it on the hand myself, of course, but, whatever people like.
I'll tell you why I've asked this question, because where I come from, we never receive communion in the hand. It's always on the tongue, and we have to actually kneel behind the rail. And the priest will come to you with the chalice, and there will be an altar server who will hold the paten, is it? Yes, under the chalice to prevent the communion from falling to the floor, because it's considered so.
Yeah, that's what we used to do here, yeah.
So when I first came out to Australia and I noticed that communion is being received in the hand, it sort of threw me. But I still see that there are people who prefer to receive communion on the tongue. And I've always been a bit unsure, should I receive it in my hand or should I receive it on my tongue? So,
it's whatever.
But spiritually, what would you say? Is one better than the other?
No, they're both approved. Some people are saying that. It is being said around that you've got to take it on the tongue. Some people are saying that, but the Church allows the hand or the tongue. So I'm happy either. Not a big issue for me.
Do you prefer the traditional Latin Mass or the Novus Ordo?
I don't. I grew up in the Latin Mass era, but I rarely ever see a Latin Mass. I have seen it done very well, very, very well, and it's very beautiful, a Latin Mass. But most of them, when I was growing up, were pretty ordinary, and there's nothing, in the parishes, there's no beautiful choir and all that. So it was very ordinary. We had our missals with the Latin and English side by side, and we became good at reading the English while the Latin was going on. But I'm not going to go back to that. It's past. And the reason I say that is when you travel the world, you can see the Mass in everyone's language, and it's not going to go back to the common language. Yeah.
So we're down to the last one. If you were to be the Archbishop of Melbourne, would you do anything different?
One of my sayings is that if I was the Archbishop of Melbourne, I would do this, but thank God I'm not. I would do a lot of things. I'm a contrarian. I disagree with most. I'm like the Irishman who was shipwrecked and swam onto a desert island, and he crawled up the sand on the beach and said, I don't know what the government is like here, but whatever it is, I'm against it. So generally, I feel a lot of things, they've led us badly, and so if you do the opposite of what they say, you probably get it right. So I try to think for myself, and I would look, I don't envy their job. I'm a parish priest. I'm happy to be a parish priest. But, it's becoming more and more bureaucratic, and so I've been around a while now. So with every new thing that comes out, you just have a look at it, then you corral it into a little corner there. It's not the main game, If you saw the things that are coming out now, we have to have a COVID-safe plan. Now, some bureaucrats sat down there for ages and pages of pages of stuff. If I spend longer than 10 minutes on that, it's a waste of time, things like that.
We can put our time to better use.
Yeah, and child safe plan, everyone's thinking up. Whereas I think you've got to live dangerously and calculate the risks. That's you can't take risk out of life, but you learn to deal with risk. So but I can see the pressures they're under, and you try and think it out yourself, really.
But I always thought, not always thought, I believe that the church is above the government. Isn't that how it is? Isn't that how the hierarchy works? The church doesn't.
No, you go, render to Caesar the things that are Caesar's, to God the things that are God. We're dealing in different realms, but unfortunately the government is interfering now in what was the areas of religion, like Fifth Commandment, you must not kill, so you're immediately in opposition to the government because of that. And I think they're interfering more and more. And especially this lockdown is a terrible interference in the life of the church.
Spiritual life, absolutely.
And so we've got to be careful. I'm not saying that. We've got to look after the elderly. We've got to trace. But, we can run our things safely here. Leave it to us and just tell us, social distancing will do all that. So
we can each take responsibility for our own well-being.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Look, Father, we can continue talking and asking you so many questions. It's been so interesting, most interesting. But times are not on our side, so we've now got to the end of our interview. So that brings to a close the series of interviews with the leaders of our parish. Thank you so much for your time, Father Brendan. We hope you've enjoyed the talks and drawn much from the experiences shared by our leaders. We appreciate your contribution by viewing these sessions. Thank you once again. Stay safe and God bless.